Good morning, everyone. We're in the middle of Sukkot, Erev Shabbat, and we are waiting impatiently for the Chatufim, the Shvuim, all those who are in captivity to join us for the celebration of Sukkot. The celebration of Sukkot is a great celebration. It's the only time that is called Zman Simchatenu, the time of our joy. Zman Simchatenu. What does it mean, the time of our joy? What is joy? Our sages teach us that there was something very, very special that happened during the holiday of Sukkot. And that was Nisu Chamayim. As we know that on the altar, they would offer different offerings, different sacrifices. A sacrifice of an animal, sometime which would be an olah. Olah means completely elevated to God. It would just be on the altar and completely be consumed and elevated. The spiritual meaning behind that is that when God created the world, He created the world from nothing to something. And it is our mission to transform the something and recognize where it comes from and elevate it back to its source. Then there was a korban, a special offering, which was a shlamim, an offering, a sacrifice that was given, but everybody benefited. The one offering the korban, the one sacrificing the kohen, as well as the altar, a part would be burnt. With that, there would be other offerings as well, an offering of flour, of oil, and there would be what's called Nisuch Hayayin. Nisuch Hayayin. This is another part of the service. When you eat a good meal, you need some wine in order to digest it well, to enjoy it, to settle it down, so to say. They would pour wine in the altar. And that too would be an offering. So we'd have offering from mineral life, salt. Salt was offered. Vegetable life, right? Flour, oil, animal life, right? And the man offering, everything would come together in this great concept of offering what's called a korban. Korban in Hebrew comes from the word karov. Karov, lekarev, lehitkarev, which means to get close. But Sukkot, we have a halacha. We have a tradition from Sinai that our sages actually found that verses in the Torah and the portions that we are reading now during Sukkot allude to, where we do what's called Nisuch Hamayim. Besides the offering of the wine, there was a special celebration during the time of Sukkot, where everyone would go to what's called Mei HaShiluach. Mei HaShiluach, I've been there, actually dipped myself in these waters, even though it's very surrounded by Arabs. At the time, one of my students took me there about 20 years ago, and we quickly hid, and I went into the waters of the Mei HaShiluach. This was the waters from that special little river, that they would go from the temple all the way to Mei HaShiluach. It's about a 15-minute walk, if I remember correctly. And there would be a great fanfare. It would be a great, great, great celebration that would happen, where everybody would sing and they would dance and they would go draw water from that source of water. Pure water attached to its source, Maim Chayim, like the Torah refers to as Maim Chayim, the waters of a source, the waters which are alive. Velo mina maim hamechazvim, and not from the waters which lie to you. What are the waters that lie to you? The Mishnah says that waters, a source of water that every 7 years dries out, is a lying water. It's telling you it's alive, but it's not really alive. A real source of water is one which is alive all the time. So they would take from this water and they would draw from the water, and there would be a great celebration of simcha. There would be instruments and dancing, and It was a tremendous, tremendous celebration. That's why you'll see on all the networks, right, over the internet, that right now in Crown Heights, in Israel, everywhere, every night, the whole night, people are dancing because there is something special with simcha, with joy, and this holiday. Now, what was it so special that we're drawing water? It was so special that we're drawing water that on the day of Yom Kippur, at Mincha, when we read about the prophet Jonah, and we read his whole story, how did he become a prophet? He became a prophet. He had prophecy come upon him, divine inspiration, because he danced and participated in the joy of drawing of the water. So during this holiday, there's something very special that's happening. Besides the sukkah, besides the lulav and etrog, besides all the other celebration, there's the fact that this is the holiday of our joy. Zman simchatenu, a time of joy, a time of connection, a time of tremendous bonding with Hashem at another level altogether. So what happened? They weren't drawing water, they were drawing prophecy. That's what our sages teach us. What's so special about water? Water does not have an odor, doesn't have a taste. Water has no color. Water has no shape. Water is the state of purity, which is the greatest state of purity that exists in the world. Now we know that there was a special event with water on the second day of creation. On the first day of creation, God created light. On the second day of creation, what happened? The second day of creation, God separated, the waters were together, and God separated the upper waters, and He brought them up, and the lower waters, the ones which would form the sea, and the oceans, and the sources, and everything. So the Zohar says that at this moment, what happened? The waters of below started crying. They started crying. They say, why? Why should we be punished? Why should we be the waters which are on earth and not closer to heaven, closer to God? Even though God is everywhere. And therefore God said, okay, I'm going to take from the salt that comes out of your water, and every sacrifice will be given with salt. And on Sukkot, we're going to pour the water inside in the altar. And there'll be a celebration around this water. What exactly is a celebration? Wine has taste. Water is the purest element that exists on earth, and the one that brings purity because of its simplicity. When you have simplicity, when you have simple faith, simple in your connection to God, which means that you're not involving your intellect too much, overthinking things, overfeeling things, being OCD about every detail and overthinking yourself and your situation, but rather you divest yourself of your mind, of your intellect, of your heart, your emotions, and you reveal your true heart and your pure intellect to celebrate in just the fact that you are Jewish and connected to God, and He's chosen you as His nation. At that moment, you really ascend to a level of bonding that cannot happen on a normal day. And that's the purity of the heart. And that's why the Zohar says, Pshita de Asiya, the simplicity of action, an action that's done with a simple heart. I'm no big shot, I'm just simple, I'm a simple Jew. Then this brings a person to reach the essence of the secret of God's infinite light. So during the holiday of Sukkot, we reach that level. But how do we reach it? Through simcha. So now you're going to tell me, but Rabbi, how am I simcha? How can I be joyful? There is a ma'amar, there is a discourse on a verse of Micah. The verse of Micah says, "Vayasufu anavim b'Hashem simcha." The humble ones will come and rejoice. And the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe says, I don't understand. Joy, humility, that seems to be a contradiction. Humility in general, when you see a person that's humble, he's more closed up, he's more introverted. Joy is expansive. Joy is something that's just, wow, you're all over the place, you're excited. How does joy and humility come together? And he explains that a person that has ego, in other words, a person that feels himself, he feels that I'm somebody, he cannot have and experience true joy. Why? Because he is so self-conscious that he can never really get out of himself. He might make the movements and show the face and everything, but he's engrossed in himself. And the truth of the matter is, he's so engrossed in himself and he thinks so highly of himself that if already the nature of a person is that when he has 100, he wants 200 and he's not satisfied. A person that thinks highly about themselves always thinks that he deserves more honor, more respect, more money, more payment, more, and so on. So he's the center. When you're at the center, you cannot lose yourself. What is the true definition of humble? Somebody that's humble doesn't feel he is deserving. He does not feel, the word entitlement does not exist for that person. I don't know that I deserve this morning to wake up. And therefore, it's a gift. I woke up this morning. I don't know that I just met a man right now, was in shul. And I told him, send me a message. He said, I'm sorry, I'm blind, I can't see. I'm sorry, I didn't know. You see, it's a gift. Everything that you have is a gift. Do you know anybody that's receiving gifts all day, doesn't feel he deserves or she deserves, and is not happy? So really, joy is that sense of complete surrender, complete self-nullification, not that you're nothing, but rather that you're surrendering and you understand that everything that you have, everything that you are, is from Hashem. At that moment, like Rav Levi Yitzchak of Berdishov said, God is the most polite of all beings. He only enters where you let him in. So the more you're going to let him in, the more he is going to come in. So when we talk about joy, true joy means taking the time to meditate and contemplate on all the extraordinary blessings I have. And the greatest of all blessings is the fact that I'm connected to the infinity of God. And that inside of me, I have a part of him. When you're conscious of this, and you take the time, Ma'ashiv Lashem, we say in the Hallel, King David says, what can I return? What can I give back to you, God? Kol tagmuloi alai. After you've given me and you give me so much all the time. When a person will stop and contemplate on the great blessings that he and she has, my friends, it's time to just get out of yourself and start dancing. Dance of joy. Thank God. Cry of joy. Sing. Get out of yourself. And that is the message of Sukkot. Sukkot comes after Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the head. Afterwards we have Yom Kippur, the purification of the left side of the heart. We banged and said we sinned, we did, and so on and so forth. When Sukkot comes, now suddenly, this is the time to take the lulav, and in every direction, from the south to the north, to the east, up, down, west, we gather all four types of Jews. The willow, which doesn't have a taste and doesn't have an odor, which represents the Jew which is not observant and does not study Torah. And on the other side, you have the lulav, which has a taste but no odor, the Jew that studies Torah but does not keep the mitzvot. Then you have the myrtle, the one that keeps the mitzvot, has an odor but doesn't have a taste. He is the one that doesn't study Torah but keeps the mitzvot. And then you have the beautiful etrog, which has a beautiful, which stands throughout all 4 seasons, throughout the 4 seasons, and has an odor and a taste. But in order to do the mitzvah during Sukkot, we have to unite all of them. Which brings me to the fact that there's a verse. There's a verse in Nehemiah. And this verse in Nehemiah says the following. I'm going to read it to you. Vayasu kol hakahal hashavim min hashevi. Sukkot. The whole community that returned from the captivity made Sukkot. They built Sukkot. And vayeshevu basukot, and they settled in the Sukkot. Ki lo asu mimei Yeshua bin Nun ken bnei Israel ad hayom hahu v'tei simcha gedola meod. The whole community that returned from captivity celebrated, made Sukkot and celebrated Sukkot. The Israelites had not done so since the time of Yeshua, the son of Nun, and there was a great rejoicing. We see here, the prophet tells us, and this I'm going to tell you for those of you who want to look, it's in Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 17. Sukkot is associated to joy, it's associated to getting out of captivity. You understand that after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, right? Last year, a person's mazal, a person's action, maybe locked him up to a certain level of ascension that he could ascend to and be blessed. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur came along, and we go out with our lulav and we show that we are victorious, just like a warrior. And what is the victory of the Jewish people during this time? Is that the lulav has to be done, has to be brought together. Our sages teach us. Some opinions say that you could take the myrtle or the willow or the lulav and the etrog, each one by itself, and you fulfill the mitzvah. But our sages tell us no. The same way when you purify a person which has touched a dead person, you have to take what's called agudat, ulkachtem lagudat ezov. You have to take a group and gather together a bundle of hyssop. This has to do with the purifying from the dead. So too, when it comes to Sukkot, it says ulkachtem, you have to take all the species together. Which means that the holiday of Sukkot has to do with the time of Asif. It's Chag HaAsif. This is the time of gathering, where you gather the crop, you gather the different species, you gather all the prayers of the year, you gather all the different parts of the Jewish people, each one the way he is, and you realize that that level of unity is what permits you to win over your enemy and to win over yourself. And that is directly connected to what we said before. Sukkot is the holiday of simplicity. Simple water is offered because it's the purity of the heart. Simple water represents humility. We have to be humble. Those who are humble are able to experience the real joy. What is humility? You don't feel yourself, which means that you are one within yourself. Your mind, your heart, your body, your soul, everything flows. You're in a state of flow. You're not in a state where there's a part of you which is struggling with another part of you. Not only at a personal level, but just like the etrog and the lulav, at a collective level. Not only that, the sukkah itself represents a great, great light of Hashem. The light of the makif, which means the surrounding light of Hashem, which can really doesn't penetrate this world, is out of our reach. But during Sukkot, it hovers over us and protects us and really drips, so to say, inside of us. When we settle in the Sukkah, why does it say in the pasuk, in the verse of the Torah, Shivat yamim basukot teshvu shivat yamim. 7 days you will settle in the Sukkah. Kol ha'izrach be'Yisrael yeshvu basukot. All of the residents of the Jewish people, all of the Israelites will settle in the Sukkah. What is this concept of settling in the Sukkah? The blessing that we say as well, Asher kideshanu be'mizvotav etzivanu leishev basukah. To settle in the Sukkah. Why? Because after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, with this extraordinary, infinite light, surrounding light that's out of our reach, that shines in the world, it comes down on Sukkot. And now we have to absorb it. We have to settle it down. Sometimes a person has great ambition, great excitement, great inspiration, but it goes to waste. It falls between the cracks, between the fingers. Now is the time to settle down. It's the time to be simple, not to think. And that's why Sukkot, your main residence, is outside. The main residence is outside your house. It's not the beautiful home with the different beautiful chairs and couches and tables. It's the simple dwelling which makes you appreciate the simplicity of life. In the words of the Rabbi in a letter, the Rabbi says to someone that sometimes traveling away is like environmental psychology. What is that? You get out of your place in order to come with a new perspective on how to look at your inhabitants, to look at your home, your dwelling place in a different light. Not because your dwelling place is not good, but the fact that you went out and you came back actually brings you another perspective that you didn't have before. So imagine that for these 7 days, which are equal to the 7 emotions, we went from the head to the heart, and now in the heart, we burst out in joy, humility, flow, unity. And we're all surrounded by one sukkah, which is the simple sukkah. And we're giving water, which is simplicity. With that simplicity, during 7 days, we realize that the true joy is simple. And that has to do with the captives coming back. Those who are in captivity, Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach, they should all come back. I don't know what state they're in. I don't even want to think about it, to tell you the truth. But that joy of saying, you know what? It's possible that a person's a father or a brother or a child of a captive, and they have $100 million home on the ocean. And they have private planes and all the pleasures of this world, and whatever you want they can get. What preoccupied that person, that family, for the last 2 years? What? I want to have the simple joy of bonding with my family member, with my child. That's more important than anything else. That's the message of Sukkot. Sukkot, we have to stop that clutter of the mind. And we have to just go and embrace Hashem. As we explained in our last class, that the Sukkah is like Hashem giving us a hug. Living in Israel, going into the mikveh, and going into the Sukkah are the only mitzvot that surround you completely. Which leads us afterwards to Simchat Torah. And Simchat Torah, even though we had a very hard Simchat Torah 2 years ago, what is the message of Simchat Torah? Simchat Torah, we don't open the Torah, we don't study Torah. Simchat Torah is the time that we dance with the Torah. The Torah is closed, it's in its box, it's in its coat. Why? because at the level of the head, it's possible one is more knowledgeable than the other. At the level of the feet, we are all equal. So after we went from the head to the heart, from the left side of the heart, asking forgiveness, to the right side of the heart, shaking the lulav from our heart in every direction, and recreating a safe space, a space of simplicity, of joy, we go down all the way to the feet to have this whole spiritual body remake, where our feet, even though they're feet, what are feet? Do they have intelligence? Are they like the brain? No. But the feet, when they dance, they're able to elevate the head, elevate the heart, elevate the whole body, and bring it to a level of joy, which is extraordinary. During Simchat Torah, we rejoice with the fact that we are connected to Torah. We're connected to the infinite wisdom of God, which is enclosed in the Torah, the essence of Hashem, His will. And we celebrate with the fact that we have been chosen for this. So Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach, please God, as we go into Simchat Torah, and as we continue celebrating Sukkot together, may we see all those who are captive come back home sound and safe and heal from their captivity. Every single one of us who is captive, in captivity in the hundreds of thousands of thoughts of their mind and tens of thousands of feelings of their heart, and all those who have limiting beliefs and are in that type of captivity should be freed. Whatever happens physically in the world is a reflection of what's happening spiritually, collectively, to all of the Jewish people, and individually to every single one of us. And therefore, if the captives are going out of captivity, it means that every single one of us has the tremendous power at this time. There's an auspicious time in heaven, on earth, to get out of our limiting beliefs, to connect, and just to rejoice. Don't overthink it. Just let your heart feel and let your heart go. Connect to Hashem. Take upon yourself a special mitzvah that's going to connect you this year. And Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach, from the dancing of the Torah, we will have a real Simchat Torah, a dancing with all of the captives and all of the Jewish people. We will all be liberated to finally celebrate in the third temple, in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, rebuilt with complete peace in Israel, peace of mind, peace at the heart. Mashiach now.